Yeah, and
You know?
yeah, in addition to that though, there was some strange paranormal activity that was in the surrounding area. And I thought that would make a great premise for the book. So I decided I'm going to write this down. I wanted to capture the essence of that time, and I didn't want to forget all those good memories, but I wanted to make a really, I wanted to make a page turner. I wanted a book that someone would be able to sit down and be like, oh my gosh, and just, wanted to continue reading. Because if I was going to put my name on something, I wanted to make sure it was good. So I just, it took a long time to write. It took.
The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.
Hello, West Michigan. This is Grand Tap Media Business TV. My name is Pamela Keim, your host. The spirit of the show is to introduce West Michigan to all the businesses, nonprofits, individuals that can help us thrive in our lives today. Well, my special guest today is an author, and I know that there are so many people out there would like to write a book or have heard some of the authors that I've had on my show, but this is an author with a little bit of a twist, and I'm excited to have her on the show. But this author experienced and wrote about paranoia, and she's going to share more about that. But she wrote her book in 2020. I'm going to believe that's right, and it took off like a bullet. So she's been very successful, and she lives in West Michigan, and she has a podcast, and she talks about what maybe some of us have experienced, the paranoia. But I want to welcome to the show Wendy Kok.
Nice to meet you.
Oh my gosh! All right, so let's talk about.
That was quite the introduction.
Yes, well, but your first book, I want to get that out. I didn't mention it when I intro. Is the Gray Resort. That's your first successful book, right?
Yes.
And that got you a nice following. And I think people today, don't you think people are today? I don't know if it's that they may have experienced something weird they can't explain, or they just would like an escape and kind of go into somebody else's life and say, I know there's something beyond.
We need an escape so badly, especially these days. We need an escape from
and
reality.
that's what your book does. You get your cup of coffee, sit out. Well, it's summer now. Today's not the most pleasant day, but it was still sunny when you came in, right?
Yeah.
And we sit and we just want to take away and experience something. And even we can't talk about the paranoia, but I want you to share about, all right, how did you get into this? And what exactly happened that you decided, I'm going to write about this type of what you experienced when you were a young child?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it, and I'm very excited, so thank you.
You're welcome.
So a Gray Resort was really a long time coming. It was something that was just kind of a baby of mine. I had it in mind for quite a while. So I was in the throes of parenting at the time. This is a long time ago. And I just wanted sort of an escape from child rearing and changing continuous diapers all day long. So I always loved to write, even when I was a little girl. So at night when I would get them down to sleep, I would take notes about what I had in mind. So really, a Gray Resort is, I grew up in a small northern town in Wisconsin. My parents had this fantastic resort, It was so great. I loved it. I didn't really realize how good I had it.
How great it was until
I know.
you went out in the real world?
Oh my God, it was during the 70s and 80s. And it was just, it's a different time, it was just and I wanted to capture that essence. They had these fantastic parties every weekend. And just everyone would come together. People in town would come together. We lived about 7 miles out of town, out in the woods. And it was on a lake. We had a pool. We had
we had a meeting, we met just last week. So you had like eight
cabins.
And people came there. There was a pool. Was there a lake?
Yes, was right along the lake. There was 3 docks. People could rent out boats if they wanted to. I just didn't realize how good I had it. I do now. I don't live on water now. I wish I did. But it was just a really fun time. In addition to that, my parents were very giving people. Like sometimes people would come that, not necessarily, they'd be hungry or whatever. And they would come and my dad would just put like a steak on the grill, and we always had enough food. We never ran out of food.
That's always nice.
Yeah, and in addition to that though, there was some strange paranormal activity that was in the surrounding area. And I thought that would make a great premise for the book. So I decided I'm going to write this down. I wanted to capture the essence of that time, and I didn't want to forget all those good memories, but I wanted to make a really, I wanted to make a page turner. I wanted a book that someone would be able to sit down and be like, oh my gosh, and just, wanted to continue reading. Because if I was going to put my name on something, I wanted to make sure it was good. So I just, it took a long time to write. It took.
So you started this, you became an author in 2020?
It was 2019. 2019.
Okay, 2019.
Yep, and my life kind of really changed after that. After my first book signing, it was just absolutely, it was amazing. Yeah, but to get to that point was not easy.
How long did you
It
said
took
it was
8 years to write.
Right, 8 years. And
That's just because I didn't have the time.
did you write it in chapter after chapter, or did you skip around?
Oh, I'm not that organized.
Okay.
I skipped around so much. I didn't know really what I was doing as far as organizing. I just picked certain moments that I thought would make, a great page turner. I would write it down. I wanted to get into, the protagonist's head and just kind of just sit down with the details. And I really wanted to show the readers rather than just tell.
Yeah.
And so I took my time with it, and it took a while, and I didn't know anybody in the publishing industry. I didn't know anything about publishing. And that was hard, and half my book was lost. I lost it on my computer. I had computer problems.
You must have cried.
Yeah, I did cry, and I did cry, and I didn't think it was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen. It would be so easy to be like, you know what, I'm just done. But something in me said, no, do this story. You have to write this story. You have to get it out.
Where do you think that
continue on.
came from?
Just
because
my
you had
inner-
experienced. Let's talk about that, but and
Yeah.
added on to that the paranoia. And people don't want to talk about. We're in West Michigan.
Yeah.
And it's kind of taboo to talk
Right.
about
the
that.
paranormal. Yes, the paranormal.
Paranormal.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I said paranoid. I said paranoid. I correct myself. The paranormal.
Yeah.
Normal.
Yes.
All right, and there's a lot of shows,
Oh yeah, it's so popular right now.
and I understand on that one, but I definitely can see where it's an escape. But you experienced something,
Yeah.
and you felt like. What? I mean,
Well-
your friends, or can you share with us what prompted you to say it was something unnatural?
Right. Well, it was just something that, I had when I was a little girl. I would kind of know things would happen before they do. And I don't think that's too uncommon. I think it happens a lot more than, people want to admit.
Right.
But it was really spot on, and it was with really serious events. Like if someone were to pass away that I knew, I would always know right before. I had it with a couple classmates. I had it. It was just very odd. I don't know how much I want to say because in the beginning, because with my grandmother,
Right.
when they were going to go to Florida on vacation, and I just had a very, it was just it wasn't like, ooh, who's going to die today? It wasn't anything like that. It was more on the lines of, if she goes to Florida on vacation, I won't see her again. And it wasn't.
And it was a strong sense.
A very strong, innate feeling, and it wasn't like I heard a voice about it. No, it was just like very convinced.
You didn't understand it?
I didn't understand it. I was just I was like 7, 8 years old. I didn't know where it was coming from.
And you told her that, is that correct?
I did, yeah.
And she responded how?
Well, she was like, oh, I'll just bring you shells, it's gonna be fun. And I just like, no, if you go over there, you're gonna die over there, Grandma. I said that.
And your mom probably looked.
My mom was floored. They were like, why would you say that? That's not gonna happen. And yeah, I don't know what.
I know, okay, and then what do you do with that?
It's a heavy burden to carry.
To carry that
'cause
feeling? Did you feel different, or did you just thought everybody had that? Because some of us do have it naturally, and some
Right.
of us, something happens, and like I always knew that one.
It was such an easy ability for me that at first I was like, how do you not have that ability, right? But when with friends, you go to school and then you realize, oh, okay, that's not
Yeah, we're not
everyone
talking
has
about that,
Yeah, not
I
everyone
think
knows or has that sense.
Right.
But I feel like if everybody has sort of a, if you just kind of dig down deep in your inner being, I don't know, you could open that door if you wanted to.
I think there's a lot of. I'm not saying it in a spooky, ghostly. I would say that people are given, I don't
like
know.
a gift or whatever.
Yeah, a gift or a Holy Spirit or
Yeah.
something that's telling you this is not a good plan. Like we can always
Right.
sense, I don't know why I don't like that person, or I don't know why I don't trust that person. And other people are giving you, well, what? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel uncomfortable around him. I don't think it's and I think we've all dealt with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody has their like energy field. There's like a
Right.
6 feet around, and your senses pick up on what maybe you not necessarily know, but there's something like, before something bad happens, I would just get sort of a feeling, oh, maybe that's not the right person I should be with, or, something strange might be happening. And I didn't, when I was little going through all that in my teens, I just wanted to get through school. I just didn't
just wanna be
understand all
normal.
that. I know, I just didn't understand where that was coming from.
I could imagine that would be overwhelming.
Oh my God.
And then you didn't want to, the more you gave attention to it, you might have thought it could bring not the best results. You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah,
might
I
bring
was scared. I was like, how
bad.
do I know this? That scared me. I didn't do, so I kind of tried to just shied away from it. But then it happened repeatedly in different instances. And I was like, okay, so like in my early 20s, I closed the door on that. I'm like, I really don't want to know,
Yeah,
so.
because then you could see yourself living in this
Oh,
small
my
house with
goodness.
9 cats and people coming,
Right,
trying to
reading
make
it.
a living, right?
Oh my gosh,
Well,
yeah.
and people looking, I wouldn't want to be the odd. Everybody knew that there was
No.
the odd one out,
No, but I thought it would make a great premise for the book.
Okay, so you did go. So you went into that. You started writing. Was it easy to write?
Yeah,
that?
it's just like it just came flowing out. It's weird. I got that creative flow. I was just like, I got it, you can kind of tell when I was writing it and I was like, my hand was shaking because I was like, I think this is going to be good. I think I caught a pulse of something here. There's something.
Yeah, I kinda catch
you know
the
what I
vibe
mean?
or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
right? And
But
some
I was
energy?
all over the place as far as how do I want to set it up. I knew I wanted to set the scene, northern Wisconsin, with the resort and things like that. And then I wanted to capture the very interesting characters that are in it based on people I know. I changed names and scenarios, but there was a couple of people that were just so flamboyant and charismatic. I'm like, I got to have them in my book.
We all have friends like that.
I know.
And they would know
make
you're
the most
talking about
interesting
them.
characters.
Do they know it? Did they email
Well,
you?
the lady-
This is me. I know it.
The lady has passed on,
Okay.
and I'm not, and the husband has too. But she was just very fun and flamboyant, and I loved her. She was great. I'm like, she's got to be a character in the book.
Sure.
Yeah. So her name is Cassie. She's one of my favorite characters in the book, in a gray resort. And I was going to just stop at one book.
Yeah. And now we
I
have
wasn't-
The Awakening.
Yeah, I didn't intend on
And-
doing another book because it's like hard. I mean, I just wanted to do a great resort and that was it. And I still wanted to write. I like to write, but I was going to do something different. But then I've had people like, you know what? You can't stop at one book. You can't stop. I had one author friend said, you need to continue this in a series. I go, series, how many? She goes, 3, make it 3. And I took
Three's
that.
good.
I know, yeah. So
Yeah.
I took it to heart, and so I wrote An Awakening, and I wrote it during COVID. Very fun to write. That was fun, and
Okay.
a couple people I know they know that I'm writing about them, in there, even though I changed names and stuff. But that was very fun. That's more of a thriller. It goes in detail about the characters and what's going on in this fictional town
Okay.
of
All right.
Neilsville, based on my real hometown, which is Tomahawk.
Wow.
It's called Tomahawk, yeah. It's like only about 3,000
How long
people.
did it take you it took you 8 years, and this one only took you
That only took like 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
And you already had, how does your ideas come about? Are
It's-
you just driving, taking your kids from one place to another, waiting for them to get done with whatever they're doing?
Yeah.
And you start thinking?
Yeah, sometimes it's as simple as that. I'll be driving the car and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'll have an epiphany. That would work out, very well in this situation. I pull over, I have notes. So I keep a notepad everywhere, by my bedside, in the car, because you just never know when you have flashes of inspiration.
Is that the best thing to do? Do you wake up in the middle of the night? And I'm finding myself when I
Yeah.
have ideas, or I know a guest coming on, or basically with Grand Tap Media, being
Right.
going in the public, and I'm like, well, that would be a really good idea. That would be a really good idea. And you think you're going to remember,
You always think you do, and you never do.
and you
At least
never
I
do.
don't. I've had that happen so many times. I was so mad at myself. I'm like, you know what? Just get up, Get the paper and pen, write down your idea. It might not make sense the next day, but at least write it down. Maybe parts of it will make sense.
Well, and is it helpful once you start practice doing that, it becomes easier?
Yeah.
Instead of just thinking these thoughts mean nothing.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, you get such brilliant flashes of inspiration sometimes in the most strangest places, or when your mind is calm, or when you have the time to you're sort of in that lucid sleep state, and then you're like, oh, this would be really cool, and then you're thinking, oh, this makes so much sense to me, I'm going to remember it, and that's why you don't. And the next day, like, what was that? Yeah.
Yeah, and I know, and it was really good.
Right.
Or maybe even a saying.
I want to kick myself how many times that's happened. Yeah.
I said something for you, and we were at breakfast, and you go, that's good. And I'm like, what? What's good? You know? I go, what you just said. I'm like, oh, really?
Right. Yeah, I remember that.
Yes.
I think I even wrote it down.
Yes, that's exactly. Okay, so then this one is already out, so you have another one, and you have quite the following. You have quite the fans that are already emailing you, asking, when is the third book coming out? You're like, I need it out now. Well, maybe they need an escape.
I know.
And then talk about what that's been like.
Yeah.
To be, pretty much in the spot. I guess it's famous under the author and being in West Michigan, and then your podcast that you started.
Yeah.
And we share a little bit more about that and what what that goal is.
That's been so fun. So as far as the book, I love writing. I enjoy writing. I plan on being a writer for the rest of my life. I'd like to have a lot of different books out. I have some really interesting ideas for a couple other books coming down the pike. So I can't wait for that. So book 3, I'm really going to try to get it done next year. So right now
Anything on the military? Because you were in the military.
Wouldn't
that be like
I wrote
cool?
a book about my experiences when I was in the desert, and I haven't done anything with it. It's just, I wrote a few books that aren't published. They're just sitting and collecting dust.
Is it normal?
I don't know, but
I mean, is that good for a person?
I wrote
to
a
just
few of
write
them. I wrote like 3. Yeah,
And
they're
you
not.
just put
I don't
them-
know if they're any good. So
Right?
that's why they're not going to get published. But
What made you not think they weren't good?
I don't know. I mean, I might do one when I was in the service, but I don't know. I don't know. I'll have to look. I'll have to look through that again and see. There might be some interesting.
Spooky kind of.
Yeah, there was some fun things. Well, I don't know. Not so. I can say fun now because I'm not in that experience. But back then, it wasn't so.
That was
fun.
a long time ago. They can't come back after.
Right. Yeah, I just think it's so important to write down in a journal, like if something strikes you, or if something you want to record a moment. It's important to do that.
Right.
I think
It's important. It was your life.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about your podcast.
Okay.
You got a lot. You've been pretty busy with it.
I know. That's why I took a little summer hiatus.
And what's it called?
It's called A Juicy Pear Podcast.
And why
very
did you
fun.
pick that?
I had a whole bunch of names picked out, and I when I first started the podcast, I started it with my friend Sean, and she liked A Juicy Pear podcast. I came up with about 50 different names, and she's like, I like that Juicy Pear. We just thought, juicy story, good graphics. The graphics would work well when you're marketing. And I just thought, okay, and I like pears. They're a little bit different. So I thought, okay, let's just go with that. And
let's just put this together.
yeah,
as a podcast.
and she was like, I love this A Juicy Pear. And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad you did. Okay, we're going with that. So we went with that, and I just really, it was during COVID, and I was just tired of the incessant negativity all the time with news and with everything, and it was like there was a dark cloud over everything, and it just seemed like there was no creative anything, and I needed a creative outlet really bad. So I'm like, I'm gonna just do this podcast. I wanna have people on the show, I wanna have fun. I want to, just branch out and meet new people. And I thought, what a better way, plus, and to promote my book as well. And I thought, what a better way to do it than to start my own podcast. So I did have to take a class on it. It was, and I'm glad I did. I learned a lot. And it was just fun. And then, sure enough, here I get all these different people on. That's fun. Making the connections and the people that I've met, that's probably the best thing that has come out of podcasting. It's very fun.
Meeting people, exactly, and then getting you connected. And of course, once people have a good experience on your podcast and somebody else, they'll bring on.
Oh,
and you're getting to what you are, I guess, you're helping promote others as you're becoming
Great.
a good guest.
And I love
coming and being
promoting
interviewed.
people, and I love helping people,
That's probably why we
find their
clicked.
footing. Yes, we clicked right from the beginning. Right when
Right
you
off the
walked in,
bat.
I was like, okay,
Yeah,
yeah. I like making people feel at ease, as you said that, people said that about you.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to have fun and promote people, and also if someone's had a very unique experience and it not necessarily gets out in the world, and I wanted to make sure that their story was told, and it was told in a way that they felt comfortable. And I've had a lot of different people, like people who've had they like to say UFO experiences. They don't like to say abductions, so I kind of went that route. I've had psychics on the show. I've had Bigfoot explorers on the show. I've had entrepreneurs on the show. I didn't want to have a specific genre, because I was like, well, what if I just do it about, education, but then I see this really cool Bigfoot explorer, I want to have that show, so I did,
But
so I kind of
are you
kept
becoming
it.
more of a believer now that you've interviewed these people? How about the life after, death?
Life after death?
Yes.
Oh, I definitely, absolutely.
What is it
Absolutely.
like when you're talking to them? It's like, are you connecting, or are you just like, okay, this is believable? Okay, let's talk about the Bigfoot.
Yeah.
I mean, how'd that one go? The video, the
Bigfoot
pictures are always,
explorers, yeah.
Why are the pictures always blurry?
I don't understand. Okay, so Bigfoot, okay, I'm not going to totally rule it out, but it is strange. There's something to it. There's just been a lot, but there hasn't really been too much physical evidence other than footprints.
Okay.
But I feel like you can do footprints very easily. But I don't know.
Well,
the jury's out on that one. I'm not
Well,
sure.
I'm okay with that. Back in the day, we used to see it in the Inquirer and all that.
Right.
Star. That's fine. There's so many other things we can focus on now.
Right.
If it is out there, I'm like, well, good luck to you. You know?
Right, exactly. Now,
But-
UFOs,
Yeah.
I'm more inclined to believe. I do believe. Yeah. And the government just came out not too long ago, a few weeks ago, saying, there's stuff out there that we really don't know. We don't have that kind of technology, and we don't know.
Well, it's big. It's a big galaxy.
Yeah.
And they always tell us there's galaxy beyond that. So to say that you're the only gig in town,
I know.
it's kind of like hard to believe.
It
You're
is
like,
very
okay,
hard to believe.
All right, we'll go with that. But you're gonna why would what are all those plans for? If it's
Right.
not for us to go discover and go out and who knows?
It's very unsettling to think,
It is.
but
It
doesn't mean that it's not
make you
true.
a bad person. You're like,
no, it doesn't mean that it's not
possible.
true. I
Anything's
mean, I don't want
possible.
I don't want to close my mind off to it. I want to know. I want to know everything I can about it. Seriously,
Right. There's a lot of things that are possible, and people get, well, you can't do it. Why not? Would it
Right.
really kill you to believe that there may be something out there?
I mean, yeah, for some people that this, no.
Somebody goes, well, why is they're when they come here they're crashing? Well, maybe one, or maybe it's not really crashing. Maybe who knows?
Right.
I mean, these people are probably more intelligent to me. So I'm just gonna
Yeah.
hopefully you're gonna hear to help, because we have enough people taking off. All right. So what do you have the name of your next book?
I don't have the name. The title is probably the last thing I'm going to do. I'll just say it's book 3 in the series. 1,000 Years of Crooked Forest is like the name of the 3-book series. But I would love anyone who likes to read. I've had all different kinds of people of all different ages. I've even had guys about my age. Like, I picked up the book thinking it was about fishing or whatever, and I had this one
It
text.
does look a little bit.
Yeah, and they're like,
This is like the Raven.
Yeah.
And people are looking at, maybe it's got, some poetry, and you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but there's some interesting things. That's more of a thriller. It gets kind of scary. I'm getting the book 3 is going to be a little bit more scarier.
You get better as don't you feel that way? You're getting more.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Your
Yeah.
first book, was a little clunky, but I knew what I wanted to write.
Right.
Second book, and now I'm like,
Yeah, I'm hitting
who
my
knows?
stride.
You're hitting your
hopefully.
stride.
Yeah.
How did it feel, just before we wrap up and where people can find your book,
Yeah.
how did it feel to wake up the next morning and know that you were an author?
It was amazing. Actually, when I got the first markup from the publishing company of my title and of the cover, I cried because I was like, oh my God, they nailed it. They nailed it. It looks exactly like growing up on the resort from my house, looking out the window. So yeah, I cried. It was amazing. And then after, I love book signings. You know, I love meeting new people, especially people who've read my book too, and they're like, oh my God, you know, it's so much fun. I love the energy of it, and I'll never get tired of it.
I would bet, you know, being something about the written word in print, you're holding on to it. It doesn't matter, you know, and I think that interviews and podcasts, like I always think this is going to go on forever. Who knows where this will be archived, right? But when people pick up and they see your name, and
I wanted to leave a legacy for my kids.
That's
too,
exactly
you know,
it. Your and their kids and their
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And nothing is more exciting as when I do sitting in an airport, or I'm sitting on a cold day like we have today.
Yeah.
And finding a book on a shelf, I'm like, what is this? I bought, you know, because I buy stuff at garage
I could be
sales
at
that look
bookstores
into
for
it.
hours and just, you know, just.
That's what.
Oh, I love
I
it.
used
With
to
a
come
cup
home
of
with so many
coffee.
books.
Oh my God, yeah.
All right, so and how can they? All right, so how can everyone learn more about your books, get your books, and maybe even tell you a little spooky story that happened to them? How can they reach you?
Well, thank you so much. So you can go on ajuicypearpodcast.com. All my info is on there. You can send me an email. I'm on all the social medias. You can follow me on
just look your
Facebook,
name up,
Wendy
right.
Kok. I'm on Instagram, Wendy Kok 4. I can't remember my TikTok one.
That's all right. We'll just pop in a link to you.
I'm on Amazon. You know, just
today
type
it's easy to find you.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I just looked up. I just put in Wendy Kok, and I just put author, and boom, oh, you're on this.
Yeah.
This one popped up.
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
Yep.
And this one, but this is your first one. So I'm going to read that one.
Yeah.
And, then read
And I
this
have a
one.
lot of reviews on a great, well, I don't know, 40 some.
Yeah.
But yeah, every time I get a new review, it's like, you know, Christmas time. It's like a Christmas present. I love it. I absolutely love it. But
Well, that
yeah.
would be a great Christmas. And
Yeah.
if you just want just a nice, you know, vacation, I go away for the winter and just have a nice book to read. I always love to
very
read.
fun.
I love to read that too. All right, I'm gonna, and I would love, and I think if you'd like to come speak, you could speak.
Absolutely,
forward, talk
yeah.
about your-
I do book clubs. Anybody who would love to have me come speak, I would love to. Yeah.
All right, that
Yeah,
sounds
my
great.
pleasure.
All right, so we want to thank Wendy Kok for being
you
here,
so
author,
much.
podcaster,
Thank
sharing
you.
her success as an author. I know so many people want the success to do an author. I'm sure they can reach out to you.
Absolutely.
But to get her books and just kind of escape is enough to worry about today, right?
Right.
All right, this is Pamela Keim for GRTV Media. We will catch you next time. Take care, everyone.